The knife glided through the ripe tomatoes, their red juice staining my fingers like faint whispers of blood. I tried not to think of it that way, but once the image came, it stayed. Tonight had to be perfect. Daniel deserved perfection, or maybe I did. The roast chicken filled the house with the scent of rosemary and garlic, warm enough to mask the chill that never seemed to leave our home lately. I set the table carefully, polishing each fork as though the shine itself might restore what we had. Candlelight flickered across the crystal glasses, soft shadows dancing across the walls. From the kitchen I could hear Daniel's footsteps upstairs, steady but reluctant, like each one weighed him down. When he finally came down, his tie was still crooked from work. He loosened it with one sharp tug and gave me a quick nod instead of a kiss. "Smells good," he muttered, sliding into his chair. "Only the best for you," I replied, forcing a smile as I placed the plate in front of him. For a few minutes, there was only the sound of knives against porcelain. I watched him more than I ate, searching for some softness in his jaw, some tenderness in his eyes. But he only looked at his food. "Long day?" I asked, trying to fill the silence. "Every day's long," he said. His tone wasn't sharp, but it cut just the same. I lowered my gaze to my wine glass, swirling the red liquid. "You don't have to shut me out, Daniel." "I'm not shutting you out." He set down his fork, finally meeting my eyes. "I just need to know I can trust you." The words landed heavier than any accusation. Trust. Such a simple word, but in our marriage it carried weight like a loaded gun. "Of course you can," I whispered, but even to me it sounded rehearsed. He studied me for a long moment, as though measuring the truth behind my voice. Then without another word, he picked up his fork again. I forced a laugh, thin and brittle, and asked if he wanted dessert. He didn't answer. As I cleared the plates, a single thought rooted itself in my mind. Something between us was breaking, and I wasn't sure either of us wanted to fix it. The clink of Claire's dishes still echoed faintly in my head as I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She had said I could trust her, but the words felt hollow, like glass ready to fracture. Around midnight, I heard the faint buzz of her phone downstairs. I slipped from the bed. Her voice carried up the staircase, soft but urgent, the kind of tone reserved for secrets. "No, not now," she whispered. A pause. "He'll notice." A cold weight settled in my chest. I stood frozen in the hallway, the glow of the lamp spilling beneath the closed kitchen door. For a moment I almost pushed it open. Instead, I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms until it hurt. When she finally returned to bed, I pretended to be asleep. The mattress dipped under her weight, and the scent of lavender clung to her hair. She lingered, as if checking whether I was awake, then turned away. By morning, I could no longer keep still. "Who were you talking to last night?" I asked over coffee, my voice steadier than I felt. She blinked, startled, then laughed lightly. "You must have dreamed that. I wasn't on the phone. Claire, I heard you." Her eyes narrowed just slightly, so quick I might have imagined it. "You've been stressed, Daniel. Work, everything. Sometimes you think you hear things. Gaslighting. That's what it felt like." Yet her hand reached across the table, fingers brushing mine with warmth so real I almost doubted myself. "I'd never hide anything from you," she murmured, but the echo of her midnight words wouldn't fade. "He'll notice." I nodded anyway, forcing the coffee down, though it tasted bitterer than usual. If she was lying, I needed to know. If she was telling the truth, maybe I was the one unraveling. Later, when I saw her slip her phone into the locked desk drawer, careful as though hiding something precious, the last of my certainty cracked. The sound of water running upstairs was my chance. Claire's shower hissed like static, muffling every creak of the floorboards as I entered her study. The air smelled faintly of her perfume, jasmine, sweet and cloying. Her desk sat against the window, neat as always, bills stacked with precision, pens lined up like soldiers. But my eyes went straight to the bottom drawer, the one she had slid her phone into yesterday. I tugged the handle. Locked. My pulse quickened, sweat beating on my forehead despite the cool air. I tried again, harder this time, the rattle of metal filling the silence. What was she hiding? A lover's letters? Evidence of betrayal? Or was it my paranoia clawing me apart? I knelt, pressing my ear against the drawer as if I could hear secrets inside. My fingers traced the keyhole, trembling with a mix of fear and compulsion. Every nerve screamed at me to stop, but I couldn't. I needed to know. Upstairs, the shower shut off. My stomach lurched, time slipping away. I rose quickly, scanning the room. Maybe there was a key hidden nearby. My hands darted over bookshelves, picture frames, even the potted plant by the window. Each second dragged like an eternity, the sound of water dripping from pipes counting down to disaster. "Daniel?" Her voice sliced through the silence, close, too close. I turned sharply. She stood in the doorway, hair damp, towel wrapped around her body. Her eyes darted to the drawer, then back to me. "What are you doing in here?" she asked softly, almost tenderly. My mouth went dry. I was looking for a pen. Her lips curved into something between a smile and a threat. She stepped closer, water still clinging to her skin. "In the locked drawer?" The room felt smaller, suffocating. I forced a laugh, brittle and hollow. "I just noticed it was locked." Claire tilted her head, studying me with an unsettling calm. "Some things are meant to stay private, Daniel. You trust me, don't you?" The word echoed again, trust, sinking its hooks deeper. I nodded, but inside I knew the cracks were widening, and if I pushed further, something inside that drawer might shatter us both. That night, the silence between us felt heavier than the quilt covering our bodies. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling when Claire whispered into the dark, "There's something I never wanted to tell you." My breath caught. I turned, finding her eyes glistening faintly in the dim light from the window. "Then tell me now." She hesitated, biting her lip as though weighing what to give me. "It's about my past. Before you. Things I thought were buried." The way she said buried sent a chill through me. "What things?" She shook her head. "If I told you everything, you'd never look at me the same." I leaned closer, desperate. "Try me." A small smile tugged at her lips, soft yet cruel. "That's the problem. You always want the truth, Daniel, but you wouldn't survive it." Frustration tightened my chest. "Stop playing games." Her hand brushed my face, gentle, almost apologetic. "It's not a game. It's survival. Who were you on the phone with?" The question slipped out sharper than I intended. Her eyes darkened. "You're obsessed with that, aren't you? Because you're hiding something." "Maybe I am." She rolled onto her back, staring at the ceiling. "But not what you think. I wasn't unfaithful." The word lingered, offering half relief, half torment. I studied her profile, searching for cracks. "Then what?" She closed her eyes, whispering, "Some mistakes don't stay buried. They follow you." Her vagueness enraged me. "That's not an answer." She turned, pressing a finger to my lips. "Patience, Daniel. You'll know when you're ready." The gesture felt both intimate and threatening. I lay frozen as she withdrew her hand, curling into herself like the conversation was over. But her words replayed in my mind, jagged and unfinished. A past she couldn't reveal, a mistake that still lingered. I couldn't tell if she was warning me or daring me to dig deeper. The knock at the door startled me. Claire had been humming in the kitchen, chopping herbs with a steadiness that seemed forced after last night's half-confession. She froze, knife in hand, eyes darting toward me before setting it down. When she opened the door, a rush of warm air carried in a woman's perfume. Lena. An old friend, at least that's what Claire called her. Though the way Lena's eyes scanned the house, lingering on me, felt less like reunion and more like inspection. "Claire." Lena smiled, arms open, her voice wrapped in honey. They embraced, but there was tension in the way Claire's shoulders stiffened. The three of us sat in the living room, coffee steaming between us. Small talk carried on. Memories of college, the jobs they left behind, vacations that never happened. Claire laughed, but the sound cracked at the edges, brittle. At one point, Lena leaned back, gaze drifting to me. "You know," she said as though joking, "Claire has always had another side." Her smile never faltered, but her eyes narrowed slightly. Claire's laughter stopped. "Lena," she warned softly, a thread of steel in her tone. I tried to laugh it off, but the words burrowed under my skin. "Another side. What did she mean?" Lena shifted, sipping her coffee. "Just saying, people are complicated. Old scars, old stories." Her hand brushed Claire's briefly, almost apologetic. Yet the seed was planted. When she left, the silence in the house was unbearable. Claire avoided my eyes, busying herself with cleaning dishes that were already spotless. I finally asked, "What did she mean?" Claire's hands trembled on the porcelain. "She doesn't know what she's talking about, but her answer was too quick, too sharp. That night, as Claire lay beside me in bed, pretending to sleep, I replayed Lena's words. Another side. They echoed louder than Claire's heartbeat against the sheets. The image of a woman I didn't fully know, my own wife, kept me awake. And in the morning, suspicion would lead me to the drawer again, to the discovery that would tear apart what little certainty I had left. Lena's words clung to me long after she left. You don't know everything about Claire. I told myself not to read into it, not to twist her cryptic smile into something darker. But that night, as Claire slept beside me, her breathing steady and innocent, I couldn't silence the itch beneath my skin. I slipped downstairs, the house cloaked in shadows. In her study, the locked drawer mocked me. I had tried it before, but tonight my desperation outweighed caution. I searched the room again, methodical this time, and found a small brass key taped beneath the desk. My hands shook as I slid it into the lock. The drawer creaked open with a sigh like it had been waiting for me. Inside, among folded letters and a scattering of old trinkets, lay a single photograph. I pulled it out carefully, as though it might shatter. The image was faded, edges curling but unmistakable. Claire, younger, standing beside a man I didn't recognize. They were close, too close, their smiles not innocent but conspiratorial. But what froze me wasn't the intimacy. It was the smear across the bottom corner, dark and rusty like dried blood. I turned it over, heart hammering. My thumb brushed the stain, brittle and flaking under my touch. The room seemed to shrink around me. My breathing echoed in my ears. Why keep this? Why hide it? 1,000 thoughts swarmed. Was the man the one she had whispered to on the phone? Was Lena's warning about him? My imagination spiraled. Claire's laugh mixed with screams. The smear of blood not an accident, but a memory pressed into paper. I clutched the photograph so tightly it bent in my hand. Part of me wanted to confront her immediately, shake the truth from her lips. Another part wanted to burn it, erase the evidence before it unraveled me completely. Upstairs, I heard the faint creak of floorboards, Claire moving in her sleep. I shoved the photograph back into the drawer, relocked it, and wiped my hands on my jeans, though the stain wasn't mine. Back in bed, I stared at her silhouette in the dark. She shifted, murmured something I couldn't catch, and I realized I no longer knew who I was lying beside. Sleep never came. The photograph burned in my mind until I couldn't take it anymore. I rose from bed, yanked open the drawer, and clutched it in my hand like a weapon. Claire, I said, shaking her awake. Her eyes fluttered open, confusion softening her face. That softness shattered when I held the photo inches from her. Explain this. My voice cracked, anger barely covering fear. She sat up slowly, her hair falling across her shoulders. Where did you get that? Don't change the subject. Who is he? Her gaze flickered, then hardened. You went through my things. Answer me. My hand trembled, the photo quivering between us. Why is there blood on it? Tears welled in her eyes, but instead of guilt, I saw fury. You're imagining things. That's not blood, it's nothing. Just an old photo. Don't lie to me. I slammed it onto the nightstand. Why hide it if it's nothing? Her voice rose, sharp as glass. Because you twist everything. You're obsessed, Daniel. You're making monsters where there aren't any. Then tell me the truth. Her tears spilled now, streaking her cheeks. She grabbed the photo, clutching it to her chest. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know me. The room pulsed with our ragged breaths. Our voices overlapping, accusation, denial. Desperation tangled together until it didn't sound like us anymore. Finally, she screamed, raw and guttural, You don't know what I've done! The words froze the air. For a heartbeat, the house was utterly silent. Then she shoved past me, the door slamming against the wall. Barefoot, she stormed down the hallway, her sobs echoing through the dark. I stood rooted, staring at the empty doorway, my chest heaving. Her words ricocheted in my skull. What I've done, not what I've thought, not what you've imagined, done. And for the first time, I realized the truth might be far worse than I was prepared to hear. The morning after Claire's outburst, the house felt hollow, every sound magnified. I hadn't slept. Her scream, You don't know what I've done, still rang in my ears. She moved through the kitchen as if nothing had happened, humming softly while buttering toast. I wanted to ask where she went after storming out, but fear sealed my throat. The knock came just after 9, firm, rhythmic, official. Claire froze mid-bite, her knife clattering against the plate. I opened the door to find a man in a gray suit, badge glinting in the sunlight. "Detective Harris," he said, voice calm but heavy. "May I come in?" Claire appeared at my shoulder, smile practiced but thin. "Of course, Detective. What's this about?" He stepped inside, eyes scanning the room like he already knew where to look. "I'm following up on a cold case. A man named David Mercer. Disappeared nearly 7 years ago." He paused, watching Claire's face carefully. "Do either of you know him?" My stomach clenched. "David Mercer. The man from the photo." Claire's expression didn't waver. "No, I don't think so," she said smoothly, folding her arms. Detective Harris tilted his head. "Interesting. A witness placed him in this neighborhood shortly before he vanished. And we recently recovered some of his belongings not far from here." I felt his gaze slide toward me. My throat tightened, words clawing to get out. I could tell him everything, the photo, the bloodstain, Claire's late-night calls. But her hand brushed my arm lightly, grounding me, warning me. "We've lived here for years," she said evenly. "If there was someone like that around, I'm sure we would have remembered." Her composure rattled me more than her denial. The detective studied us both, then slipped a card onto the table. "If anything comes to mind, give me a call. Secrets have a way of resurfacing." When the door closed behind him, silence swelled. Claire picked up the card, turning it between her fingers, and smiled faintly. "Don't worry, Daniel," she murmured. "He won't find anything." But her calmness chilled me more than the detective's suspicion. Because now I knew, whatever truth she was hiding, the police were circling closer, and I was trapped in the middle. That night, Claire poured 2 glasses of wine and carried them into the living room. She sat across from me, legs curled beneath her, eyes shadowed in the low lamplight. For once, she didn't wear the mask of calm control. "You want the truth," she said, her voice quiet but edged with steel. "At least part of it." I gripped the glass she offered but didn't drink. "Start talking." Her gaze drifted past me as though she were watching ghosts in the corner. "Before you, there was someone else, David." The name hit like a hammer. He wasn't who he seemed. At first he was charming, the kind of man who could walk into a room and make everyone lean closer. But behind closed doors, she swallowed hard. He was cruel, controlling. Every smile was a test, every mistake a punishment. My chest tightened. "And the photo?" Her lips trembled into something like a smile. "Proof that once he owned me. Proof that I survived him. Then why hide it? Because survival isn't clean, Daniel." Her tone sharpened. "One night he pushed too far." He didn't stop. She broke off, staring into the wine. "There was blood. So much blood. I didn't mean to, but it happened." I leaned forward, pulse pounding. "You killed him?" She met my eyes then, calm and unflinching. "I buried him. Out in the woods where no one would find him. Where I thought the past would stay dead." The room tilted around me. "So the detective," she cut me off, "doesn't know what really happened." "He can't, and you won't tell him." Her words weren't a plea but a command. My mind reeled, torn between the woman trembling before me and the cold certainty in her voice. Was she the victim of a monster or the monster herself? I couldn't decide which terrified me more. Claire leaned closer, her whisper brushing against my ear. "We're in this together now. You understand that, don't you?" I nodded stiffly, though every part of me screamed to run. Because if her story was only half the truth, then the other half was waiting in the dark, still buried. Detective Harris asked me to come down to the station, just to clarify a few things. His tone was polite, but I felt the weight of handcuffs in every syllable. Claire kissed my cheek before I left, her lips cool, her eyes sharp as glass. In the interrogation room, the walls pressed close, the hum of fluorescent lights drilling into my skull. Harris sat across from me, notebook open, gaze steady. "Mr. Whitmore," he began, "you've been married to Claire for 6 years, correct?" "Yes," my voice cracked. "And in that time, has she ever mentioned David Mercer?" The name lodged in my throat. "No," I said finally, too quickly. Harris tapped his pen against the paper. "Strange. We have reason to believe Mercer was involved with her shortly before he vanished." He leaned in. "Are you sure she never told you anything?" I shifted in my chair, palm slick. Images flashed. Claire whispering at midnight, the photograph. Her whispered confession about blood in the woods. My heart thundered, but I forced my voice flat. She never mentioned him. He studied me, silent long enough to make my skin crawl. You seem nervous, Daniel. Almost like you're protecting her. I swallowed hard. Wouldn't any husband protect his wife? His eyes narrowed. Depends on what she's done, or what you've done with her. The words sliced deep. Suddenly, I saw myself not just as her shield, but as her accomplice. I had known, suspected, and still chosen silence. That made me guilty too, didn't it? Harris closed his notebook. Secrets rot marriages, Mr. Whitmore. They also bury people. Think carefully before you decide which side you're on. When I walked out into the afternoon sun, my legs trembled. Claire was waiting by the car, smiling like nothing had happened. But I knew Harris was right. Every word I had spoken bound me tighter to her. And if the truth surfaced, it wouldn't just be her marriage on trial, it would be mine too. Sleep refused to come. I tossed beneath the sheets, Claire's steady breathing beside me, a mockery of peace. Somewhere in the night, a faint scraping sound drew me from bed. At first, I thought it was an animal. Then I noticed her side of the bed was empty. I slipped to the window, heart pounding. Moonlight spread silver across the yard, and there, by the edge of the garden, Claire stood, shovel in hand. Her nightgown clung to her, ghostly in the pale light. Each thrust of the blade sank deep, pulling up dark clumps of earth. I crept outside, the cool air slicing my lungs. She didn't hear me at first, too consumed by her work. When I was close enough, I whispered, "Claire!" She froze, shovel halfway buried. Slowly she turned, dirt streaking her arms and face like war paint. "It's better if the past stays buried," she murmured. Her voice was flat, almost serene. My eyes darted to the hole. Fresh earth piled high, the pit yawning like a wound in the garden. "What are you doing?" Her smile was faint, detached. "Cleaning up loose ends." I stepped closer, but she raised the shovel between us, not threatening. Protective. "You don't need to see this," she whispered. The moonlight caught her eyes, bright and unblinking, and for a moment I wondered if she was sleepwalking. But the deliberate way she tightened her grip told me otherwise. "I can help you," I said, though my voice shook. "Just tell me what you're hiding." She tilted her head, considering me. "Would you still love me if you knew?" The question hollowed me. I opened my mouth, but no words came. She nodded, as if my silence was its own answer, and turned back to the earth. Each scrape of the shovel echoed like a heartbeat. I stood in the cold, paralyzed, knowing the ground beneath our garden held more than roots. And if Detective Harris ever dug here, the truth would consume us both. I woke to pounding on the door. Not the frantic knock of a neighbor, but the heavy, measured thud of authority. Red and blue lights bled through the curtains, painting the walls in pulsing color. Claire stood in the hallway, hair disheveled, dirt still beneath her fingernails. "Daniel," she whispered. "Don't open it." But it was too late. The door burst inward, voices filling the house, commands sharp, weapons raised. Detectives' uniforms, the clatter of boots against hardwood. My body froze as hands shoved me against the wall. Detective Harris appeared from the chaos, calm but relentless. "We have a warrant. Anonymous tip, photographs, locations, timestamps. You've both been hiding something." His gaze cut through us like glass. Claire's breath trembled beside me, but she didn't speak. They split us apart, officers storming the garden. I could hear the muffled clank of shovels, the murmurs of discovery. My stomach churned, bile clawing its way up as the truth clawed its way out of the earth. "Sir," an officer called. Harris stepped outside, and when he returned, his face was taut, grim. He dropped a sealed evidence bag on the table. Inside, bone fragments, stained fabric, rusted jewelry. "Human remains." The room tilted. My knees nearly buckled. Claire's voice cracked like glass. It was him. He wouldn't stop. Harris cut her off. "Save it for the station. We know about your past, but what about him?" His eyes burned into me now. I opened my mouth, but the words stuck, because I knew what they'd found wouldn't only tie to Claire. There had been another night, years ago, my own hands covered in blood, my own secret buried deeper than I'd ever admitted, even to her. And Claire she had known. That was why she had protected me, why she had smiled through suspicion, Why she had kept digging in the garden. We weren't enemies circling each other, we were mirrors. Harris's voice lowered. So it wasn't just her. The air in the room thickened until breathing hurt. Claire turned her head, eyes locking on mine. Not pleading, not afraid. United, bound by horror. The officers stared in stunned silence, realization dawning in their faces. Husband and wife, each with blood on their hands. Not one monster, but two. As they cuffed us, Harris muttered under his breath, "God help me, I've never seen anything like this." The house stood quiet again, save for the rustle of leaves outside, our secrets finally unearthed.